Hey everyone, welcome to a special edition of Electoral Dysfunction. We got a big show planned for you, but before we start, this is amazing. We have got an exclusive interview. I cannot believe we were able to land this guy. Giancarlo Granda, the man behind the Falwell sex scandal, is with us, and we are so honored to have him. Giancarlo, welcome to Electoral Dysfunction. How are you?
I'm really great. Thank you so much for having me, Tom. As everyone knows by now, I was caught in the scandal. I had an arrangement with the Falwells whereby I would have sex with Becky Falwell while Jerry Falwell would sit in a dark corner and watch. And, it worked out for a while, but after a while, it became very toxic, very destructive. And I want to get on with my life. Tom,
Yeah.
I have some great ideas for some business ventures. And I thank you for giving me this platform.
We're really excited to talk to you, and I apologize. I shouldn't laugh there. I want to make it clear this show, we're not kink shaming anyone, but we do enjoy Falwell shaming. Big fans of that here.
Hey, you know what? I'm on board with that. Thank you very much. So
talk to me about what's next for you. You got some business ventures, you say. Tell us about that. What are you doing? How are you moving your life forward?
Well, first of all, Tom, here's my first idea.
All right.
Giancarlo Granda Pool Cleaning LLC. As everyone knows by now, I started as a pool attendant. So I know the business. My people will come over to your place, clean your pool, and then I'll have sex with your partner while you get to watch.
Well, I mean, it's not a terrible idea. Certainly you have expertise in that field in both parts of what you threw down there. That's good. I'm curious, you just mentioned in that pitch that you would clean pools, you'd show up in full service pool cleaning, and then you would have sex with the customer's partner while they watched. And you mentioned before this started just that, you were trying to get away from this period in your life. I'm just curious, doesn't this feel like a step backwards for you?
Maybe. But Tom, I'm going to consider that. But why don't you hear my next business venture?
All right.
It's a little different.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think if you want to move forward, you want to move all the way forward. Get away from the pool cleaning and such. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I'm moving from the pool to Giancarlo Granda Real Estate LLC.
All right.
If you need to sell your home, I will
Who
come
doesn't
over.
these days?
I know the business. I know real estate. And then I will have sex with your partner while you get to sit in the corner and watch. So, okay, I just heard it out loud.
Yeah, well, I would say, right now it's a seller's market for real estate. People are looking to get some extra income. People are selling second homes. So I have to tell you, you had me for most of that pitch. It's at the end when, again, you you have sex with your customer's partner and they sit in the corner and watch, which again, if people like that, we at Electoral Dysfunction knock your socks off, but you did sort of describe wanting to move forward and put that past behind you. I worry for you if you keep having sex with people's partners while they get to watch.
Tom, I'm glad you brought that up, but I have another idea.
Okay.
That's completely unrelated, and it is moving forward.
All right, great.
Tom, I don't know if you know, we're in a pandemic.
Oh, yes, we are. Most certainly.
A lot of people are suffering. A lot of people lost their job. And that is why I'm proposing Giancarlo Granda Job Search LLC.
That's great.
Bye-bye, LinkedIn.
Yeah, goodbye, LinkedIn forever.
Bye-bye, Indeed.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to design a site where you will get connected with the best job employers, and then I will have sex with your partner while you get to sit in the corner and watch.
Okay.
Okay.
Walk me through, so just to be clear, so this job search site, you mentioned compared it to LinkedIn. So it is, you'd set up your own profile on it, and it wouldn't just be searching for jobs, right? I don't know why I'm trying to justify that part of it for you. We're still stuck on this having sex with people's partners in a corner thing. Giancarlo, it sounds like this is something you like to do, and I don't think you should be ashamed of that. Just maybe, I don't know what service you provide where that's all you do, though. But, I think it seems like you might not be ready to move on from this part of your life.
Tom, I am so ready because you know what, the Falwells, they were toxic, manipulative, destructive, all around horrible. And it's time to move forward. So I will consider not having sex with your partner while you get to sit in the corner and watch. But it's going to kill my last business venture, which is called Giancarlo Granda Has Sex with Your Partner While You Get to Sit in the Corner and Watch, LLC. And the gist of it is, I have sex with your partner while you get to sit in the corner and watch. Sure. You get to sit in the corner and watch.
I have to tell you, first of all, this sounds like it speaks to your passions, and I like that. And it speaks to your strengths. I like that too. You know, not my personal opinion that it should be this way, but we do have laws about sex work in this country. So I'm concerned about you from a legal standpoint now.
Whoa, Tom. I hear you out. I'm hearing a little bit of kink shaming, and wow. I think you need to slow your roll. Let me tell you, the Falwells, while they were horrible, they encouraged me. What I learned, the good I took away from them, I have to use God's gifts. God gives everyone a purpose.
And he gave
God gave me the gift of being able to have sex with your partner while you get to sit in the corner and watch. So I think it's something I'm going to do. You know what? I don't think I can move forward. I think I'm going to always have sex with your partner while you get to sit in the corner and watch. So,
well, you know, hey, and I have to tell you, on behalf of this show, certainly didn't mean to kink shame you before. I apologize. We support you in this effort. Giancarlo Granda, please, by all means, you have sex with as many partners as you can while other people sit in the corner and watch. And
well, you get to sit in the corner and watch.
That's right. Thank you very much. We're so glad that you had to have you here. Ned Thorne, let's star wipe us on to the next segment. Thank you. And join me in welcoming this week's panel. First up, he's one of the co-hosts and co-creators of the Centralia Improvisational Podcast. He also created the animation for this very show. Kevin Scott's with us. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Good. I love that opening animation. It's so good.
So do I. It's the gift that keeps on giving that I paid for once and have used many times.
Right? That's like my one professional animation job I ever had.
Yeah? Hey.
So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I did it again. We make stars here at Electoral Dysfunction. Next up, she is the executive producer of Murph Meyer is Self-Medicated. I got that right?
Yes, you did.
Michelle Francesca Thomas is with us. Hello, Michelle. How are you, my friend?
I'm alive.
Oh, man. At some point, we're going to do this show where I'm alive is not the like average response rate of everyone.
I know.
At this point in the world we live in, it's just like, how you doing? I'm alive.
I'm happy to be here. I'm very happy to be here.
That's good. Look, alive is fine at this point. Yeah. And of course, speaking of alive, editorial columnist for the New York Daily News, Robert George. Hey, Robert, how are you?
I'm doing just great. It's a good whatever the hell day it is because they all run into the other. But I'm doing okay. I'm here once again with my Mike Hard Lemonade.
Mike Hard Lemonade.
You know what we should do? Given how many people.
By the way, week 30 of them not giving us a sponsorship. So go.
The upside is it's also week 30 of them not sending us a cease and desist order. So
that's true. That's true.
Though I do have a brand new idea. Given how many times everybody says, "Well, I'm alive," maybe we could get like a Pearl Jam song in there.
Yeah. I'm still alive. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah,
that's the drop. That's a drop for you right there.
I can't afford Pearl Jam. I could barely afford Kevin Scott.
That's true. That's true.
That's true. All right. But I'm always thinking about figuring out some little bits of promotion here to like get this get this sucker up there.
Look, you're from the party of capitalism. What can I say? And with that, let's take a quick look back at the news of the week. This week, so normally when word comes out that our president, who is still currently, as of this recording, Donald John Trump, when word comes out that he has said or done something stupid, like last week, word came out that he had trashed the troops, specifically the dead ones.
As you do.
And that was in reporting with other people, like journalists getting from very important, top level sources. But still like from journalists, secondhand. This week, tapes were released of him voluntarily being interviewed by Bob Woodward, famous for ending presidencies, for Woodward's upcoming book. Was it Rage, I believe is the name of this?
Rage!
Rage by Bob Woodward. Boy, I remember like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it was Bush at War, and now it's Rage. Like the guy's like, the next president, it's just gonna be like the letter X is gonna be the title of the book.
His last one was Fear.
Malcolm X. Don't you come from Malcolm X?
Oh, you're right. Sorry. I'll go with T. I'll put my name on the line for that one.
It could be Latinx, that could be the next.
So recording came out with him, and these were tapes and interviews that were done in February, but days after he was acquitted by a jury of his peers, that being 51 United States senators. That's yes. Well, mostly. Notwithstanding Lisa Murkowski and Tim Scott. Came out that he not only was fully aware of just how bad COVID-19 could be, but fully aware that it could be an economic damage, fully aware that it could be like that it could get this bad, that it spread through the air, and that kids could get it, while publicly saying that it would not be that bad, that it could not spread through the air, and that
it was a
could
hoax.
not get it.
Hoax.
At one point, it was a hoax too. So my first question, and I throw this to the panel, is this: why do presidents keep sitting down with Bob Woodward?
Well, Tom, let me think about this. Republican president, Bob Woodward,
yep,
and tapes. What could possibly go wrong?
There you go.
There's no precedent for this. There is a precedent for it, but there is no precedent for
Very
this.
nice.
So,
all right, first pun on the board from Robert George. Nice work.
I think they realize that, and this is serious. Bob Woodward
Hope so.
is a very good journalist. He manages to get people to talk to him. He gets many people in many administrations, Democrat and Republican, to talk to him. And so they realize, the people that are just talking about White Houses in general, they realize that when Bob Woodward is knocking on the door seeking to get an interview with a president, by the time he's done that, he's probably talked to a dozen or maybe 24 other key sources within that administration. So the president, again, whether it's Obama, Bush, Clinton, Bush 1, whatever, they make the calculation. He's talked to a whole lot of people, maybe some of the closest people who are in this room right now. Why don't I talk to him as well so he gets my perspective in there. That's one calculation. In 2018, the advisors around around Trump, including Kellyanne Conway, said no. There's no upside to you.
This was for the first book.
For Fear, yes.
For Fear.
There's
Alphabetical.
there's no upside for you to talk to him. So the book comes out, and it got some. It had some negative stuff in it, but there were a whole bunch of other anti-Trump books out, like Fire and Fury and things like that. So it didn't really make as much of a ripple as other Woodward ones did. But Trump, being Trump, was still upset about it and said, "Why didn't you let me talk to him?" And so this time they said, "Okay, let's talk to him." Boom.
One of the most damning quotes that's been discussed, I just want to throw this out there, was when he was asked about playing the virus down. He said, I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down because I don't want to create a panic. Kevin and I were talking before the show that we forget how many months this has gone on, but I'd say there was a panic in the early days. I'm not sure about what your stance was, guys. Like, I don't know if he did a good job of playing down a panic. But since then, he has said that, the defense that the president has thrown out has been, if these quotes were so bad, why didn't Woodward come forward with them sooner? Thoughts on that? Michelle, what do you think?
Not his job to do so.
Right.
I mean, but I mean, to play devil's advocate, I think that this is part of the problem with why he has lasted so long, because there's just so much like implicit culpability that like people are just like, oh, he said that. Okay, instead of just like bringing it to to the light, and then like maybe his feeling was like, well, if I say like nothing is gonna change anyway, like this dude's still gonna be in office, and like he's still gonna have a very strong base, and all these other justifications as to why you wouldn't act against him, supposedly. But I mean, that's my hot take on it, guys. I don't know.
I guess my question is, why don't people speak out against him? Like, it's not Woodward's job. Michelle, you said it. His job is to write the book. The job is the people in government, right? The people around him that should be saying something. And I mean, maybe Woodward said it. It's fear, although that was, 2 years ago. Still relevant. I don't know.
Very relevant.
Like, are people just afraid he's going to get angry? Is he like the angry daddy?
You know
going
what?
to yell at them?
It's funny you should say that, because I was watching the Axios interview. I don't know. It's probably like months ago, but it was
anywhere between 1 month and 8 years ago. Sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
Like with Ben Carson.
Yep.
I think Jonathan was the correspondent.
Jonathan Swan, yeah.
Yes, but nevertheless, so he sat down with Ben Carson, and Ben Carson, gifted hands Ben Carson, and I'm using the air quotes on purpose, because I feel like a man with that sort of mental capacity to put yourself through medical school, to become a surgeon, and now you are the head of HUD. I don't even want to get started on that. But even within that, so Jonathan was discussing the budget and how there were a number of line items that were going to keep money for programming, for people that need it in housing. And apparently they were slashing that from the budget. And Jonathan's question was basically like, well, if you take away these items, then what is the resource for the people who need it? And Ben Carson's justification was like, I'm not going to go against the party and say something negative about the budget. You're not going to get me to do that. He literally said that. I was like, so that's the bottom line. Like, it doesn't matter if people are naked, starving, burning in the streets, cold and alone, like Natalie Imbruglia, like crying naked on the floor, right? But it's like, who cares? Too bad. Good luck with your life. Not going to go against my party. And that is the problem overall in society, and especially within a two-party system. That, like we only have, Republican and Democrat, and especially there's definitely people within the Republican Party that are like, this guy is full of hack trash. But I can't break rank, and that's sad to me. That's really sad.
I have this theory lately that's been running in my head that people don't choose their tribe based on their ethics and morals, but people choose their ethics and morals based on their tribe.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. I mean, to give Tom a hanging slider here, I'm going to say I'm old enough to remember when the issue was Bill Clinton in 1998 or so, circa, and the question was lying under oath because of an affair with
that woman.
with
Monica Lewinsky.
that woman, Miss Lewinsky. That's exactly correct. And the fact is, Democrats went to the mat defending Bill Clinton because he was their guy. Now we're 25 years. It's nearly 25 years gone now. Just stepping back, and we can just say, it's completely and totally repugnant for a person in a leadership position, whether he's president of the United States or a CEO, to be taking advantage of a 20-something intern. That's just plain, absolutely and totally wrong.
Intern. How about that?
What?
I said any age intern.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Is that
But
what that movie with Robert De Niro called The Intern was about?
Yes, it is.
Exactly.
Yes,
It's about Bill Clinton hitting on Robert De Niro.
the point is that if it wasn't a case of politics, the Republicans said this guy needs to be impeached. He needs to be removed from office. Democrats said no, this is wrong. He needs to be censured. This doesn't rise to the level of impeachment. Blah 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 blah. You project it. You go forward 20-some years. Donald Trump is caught trying to shake down a foreign country to get dirt on a political opponent. Democrats say this guy needs to be removed from office. Republicans say, well, that's kind of bad. Well, is it bad? Maybe it's kind of bad, but oh no, it doesn't rise to the level of impeachment. If the situations on either of those cases are reversed, if the Republican president is diddling the intern, if the Democrat is conspiring with a foreign power, the parties are going to switch. You are absolutely right.
I'm going to put a quick negative on anyone saying diddling again on this show. I'd also say that, in Democrats' defense, most of the people who defended Clinton got kicked out of office because Republicans were way better at campaigning in the 2000s.
Yeah, and Al Gore
But
did not win. Well,
yeah,
questions. Whatever.
Question
Are they
marks.
still counting? Are they still counting?
He
They're still
didn't
counting, yeah.
win, but actually, Tom, I have to slightly correct you, my good friend. In the 2000 election, you were correct that Al Gore didn't win
in the 2000s.
Yeah, but the Democrats actually won 5 seats in the Senate in 2000, and basically got into a tie. Coming out of that. So, who knows?
I think the bigger question is that why it feels like politics is the only time that this happens, with the exception of please don't come for me. Nobody come for me, Irish Catholic and Italian families. And what I mean by that is okay, so our original thesis was you choose your morals, you choose your tribe based on your morals, right? That's what you said, Robert George?
That was Kevin.
Yeah,
Take out Kevin Scott on that.
I believe lately that people choose their morals and ethics based on their tribe.
Right. So if that is the case, then, well, what I was thinking was the reverse is true, which is that you choose. Wait. Now
Some people
gravitate
do.
towards people with shared values.
Some people do.
I think my point though is that for example, in I'm not gang or anything like that. I'm not affiliated, but you can have people that grow up on a block that are gang affiliate, and you have people that are not, but they are friends with those people. Now you essentially have people, sharing in some type of Venn diagram crossover of morals that they aspire to or cling to, just because that is the standard maybe for the block atmosphere overall. But in terms of individual, that separation from within that Venn diagram, the person who is obviously not gang affiliated is nah, that's, this is where the rubber meets the road for me, and I'm good over here. And the person who is hey, I gotta do what I do to maintain my foothold in society, just stay alive or whatever the case may be. And I feel like, I don't know, I guess, again, going back to the same question that I had before, is like, why is it that it seems like politics is the only, point in society, again, maybe with the exception of like gangsterism, where it's like, you will ride with this until you die, for sure.
Yeah. I think that's a really good question. Like and it's fascinating this year, in an election that's dominated by talk about law and order and like protecting people from crime. The party that I think the party that for lack of a better word, like whose standard bearer committed crimes earlier this year is running on crime. Like I've definitely had a moment this year. I'm like, well, if the Republican controlled Senate does not care about crimes, then why am I obeying any law right now? And the answer is because I don't have a little letter and the state's after my name.
And
But
it
I
depends
think that's
on what
like,
kind of crime, right?
Right.
It's like people want law and order, right? People like
who doesn't? Oh.
like Darth Vader in Star Wars had a good idea, right? Darth Vader wanted to
Yep.
bring law and order to the galaxy. And if the galaxy is chaos, you're going to be like, Vader's got a good idea. So what? He strangles people with the Force
Right.
occasionally. So I think for a lot of people, it's like, all right, Trump steals. We know he steals. He lies. He grabs women in their
Yeah.
bathing suit area without their permission. So what?
Is he robbing my store?
He's bringing
No.
law and order to the galaxy, whatever that law and order. I don't know what the law
Yeah.
and order is.
I think one of the things we're, and if I should have been a better student at the wonderful St. John's College in Annapolis, given that it's a great philosophical.
They're second on our list to try and get a sponsorship after Mike's Hard Lemonade. So
In our
What are
institution,
we name dropping here for?
but there is there.
well, at the
Well, I
learning
think-
annex, I learned.
I think we were running. Or maybe it was Trump University. Maybe that's where you learned it. It was on one of those.
Oh, yeah.
One of those
Yeah,
little
well,
boxes on
I
the
got a
screen
coupon.
in the 1970s. One of the things that you learn about in philosophy is the whole idea of the hierarchy of values, and one of the things that I think we're learning over the last couple of years. There's a kind of a shaking out at the DNC. It seems like every single night that they were highlighting another Republican who was coming out to endorse Joe Biden, and a lot of them said, I disagree with Joe on these this tax issue or this trade issue over here and things like that. But oh, by the way, I think Donald Trump is an existential threat to our future because of things like the rule of law and the fact that he might be a sociopath.
Yeah. All these
so-
Republicans were like,
the RNC as well.
Well, you can say the same thing.
there were fewer Democrats that they got for the RNC.
The point,
Well, I don't know. I just want to jump in and real
Sure.
quick say, like, specifically, I feel like they were really trying to nail down that they had a lot of black people for
Yeah.
Trump.com.
Yeah.
well,
Like, Tim
So-
Scott, do you have a brother?
yeah, Rick Scott, my white bald-headed
Yeah.
brother. Yeah, no, that's a different situation.
Yeah, meanwhile on the
but-
Democratic
the-
side.
But what's also but this whole hierarchy of values thing is also playing out in a slightly different way on the Republican side as well. You've got a lot of Republicans, even those at the base level, who are saying that, well, I may not agree with Trump on trade policy, for example, or I might not agree with him on this issue over here.
Yeah.
But I personally believe that these progressives over here who believe in cancel culture and are tearing down our statues and can't see the difference between the Confederates over here and Thomas Jefferson, who owned slaves over here. There's a part of America that I'm seeing sliding away, and Trump, for all of his faults, is the only guy that's actually going to stand up and defend that. And so I'm sticking with this guy. So in a way, they do see it as it's just that their value hierarchy, the value hierarchy on both sides has changed, and they're willing to put aside what used to be these what they thought were their rock solid party ideology viewpoints for something more atavistic. Ooh, sorry.
Ooh, atavistic for the
Atavistic,
win.
Wow.
For the win.
That marks
I-
the first time it's been used in this show.
Yeah, something just came to mind while you were talking about I get all my news from Facebook. All right, some of my news.
Problem number
but-
one. There we go.
Have you guys
You know,
heard
I-
about this pizza shop where kids are getting kidnapped?
It's insane, guys. Q knows. But a friend, an old friend from years ago, had posted, an anti-Trump thing, and it was about his character. They're like, regardless of your policies or your politics or whatever tribe you belong to, he's not fit to be president of the United States. And then someone else who's sort of from that world commented, and I'm paraphrasing, basically saying Trump got more done in his first 3 years than Joe Biden ever got done in his 47 years in government. And it took all my strength not to comment and just ask specifically what he got done, because I know it isn't about what he got done. I know it's about statues, and I know it's about lumping Jefferson in with Robert E. Lee, and it's all that other stuff that leaves people terrified that they're on the wrong side of history, or that they're irrelevant, or that the America they grew up with is gone. But that happens for everyone. And at the end of the day, it's about mortality, right? No one wants to look in the mirror and say, I'm going to die. And that's what this stuff is doing on some level. Your world is ending. Your worldview is ending. And I think they're terrified. And a guy like Donald Trump, despite his, I'm trying to think of a word like Robert would use, blovinating,
Yeah. I'll go with that.
blovacious
Blovacious.
demeanor. He's somehow saying, we are going to stay. We're going to stay. And that's all they want to hear. All the other details are irrelevant. They just ping off their head, policy or anything. I don't even know what I'm trying to say at this point. It's Facebook, people.
I'm curious. So my question is this: a thing that occurred to me, and I think is worth asking, is that the question that the president laid out was, if these quotes were so damning, why didn't Bob Woodward release them months ago? And the thought I had is, like, would it have even mattered if he had released it months ago? Like, honestly, the big surprise for me out of these quotes is, like, I generally thought Donald Trump thought it wasn't a big deal. So now I know he did.
I just think that even if he did release it, months ago, I think that being that our president has constantly, ever since taken office, depicted any form of news that goes against him in like a fake, then I feel like he would have just painted it with that same broad stroke brush and be like, this is fake news, he's just trying to come for me, et cetera, as he, normally does. And, finding a way to like get on Twitter, done a rant to like affirm, his belief, whatever that would have been at the time of his rebuttal. And, again, the base stays with him.
I actually think that I know why Woodward
Wants to sell that book.
Well, no, he's selling that book, and because of Watergate, people think that Bob Woodward is still like a high muckety muck editor at the Washington Post, and then he does
played by Robert Redford.
Yeah, but I mean, basically, his main job is a book writer, and as a book writer, you have if you're approaching somebody for the book, you tell them, I'm writing this book over the next couple of years, and I want to approach you multiple times for different interviews. And it's understood that the material I'm putting in here is going to be in this book that's coming out in a couple of years. It's not going to be on the front page of the Washington Post tomorrow, because if it is on the front page of the Washington Post tomorrow, why would you give me, interview, 12, 13, or 14? So that's fine. I will say this though, I'm not quite sure if the full impact of this interview in terms of Trump telling Woodward about the way this thing is spreading, I'm not sure if everybody just looked at this and said, oh, wow, he said, oh, it's deadly stuff, blah, blah, blah. If my memory is correct, in the first or second week of February, it was still unclear in terms of how the public was. Actually, no. I'm sorry. Let me step back. By mid-March, when everything started to shut down, and Trump has his March 11th. Trump has his evening address to the nation, which was actually kind of a shit show because the White House had to do a cleanup on aisle 1600, right afterwards, explaining the three things in his own speech that he got wrong. But that was also the day, it was the day when people realized shit got real, because the NBA puts out the statement saying, we're suspending operations because one of our players has tested positive. And then everybody, and by the way, a couple minutes later or a couple minutes before, Tom Hanks also said,
it got Tom Hanks first.
All of these things, people said, okay, this is a real thing. But in mid-March, people were still talking about, washing your hands, make sure you don't touch your eyes, all this other kind of stuff. There was talk about aerosol transmission, things like that. But there was so much more focus on, it could be on, it could be on the train when you're going in there. So the first week in February, the President of the United States is telling Bob Woodward, this isn't just touch, it's not just a touch thing, you can kind of avoid that. And oh, by the way, Donald Trump would be paying attention to that because he is, he for decades has been known as a world-class germaphobe. So he's telling Bob Woodward, this is transmitted by air. It's really deadly stuff. So this is telling me two things. Despite what we've been told, he was actually listening to those briefings. He was listening to what Fauci and Birx and NIH and FDA and all these other people have been telling him for in January and in that first week in February. And he was able to, and it wasn't just like, oh, well, it goes in one ear and goes out the other. He heard this and was articulating it right back to Bob Woodward. So this is like two things. Number one, Trump actually is a lot smarter than people are thinking about, because he is comprehending these things. Number two, he's even more of a deadlier snake than we're thinking, because he is able to articulate this and then literally go out a day or two later, a week or two later, and saying, oh, this is going to fade away. Yeah. Oh, it's all a hoax, and on and on. So, and oh, by the way, 19 interviews, 10 hours. There's more to come.
Oh, yeah. I hope so.
I mean, the book hasn't even come out yet.
I'm just gonna say, I hope that wasn't breaking news that anyone just heard from Robert George. Yeah. Because seriously, this is, the history of his interplay with the media since before I was even born is
since the 1980s, when he was playing around with the New York Post, calling the New York Post saying, "Oh, I'm representing Donald Trump," and
yeah, it was Keith Miller, right? Or John Miller?
He was John Miller, and he was John Barron. Which, by the way, yes, folks, he named his youngest son after his own fake name.
Yeah, why not?
Look, go with what works. Michelle, sorry, you were saying.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say basically that like the man knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, and anybody that thinks he doesn't is super naive. And it just the way he's look at just like his first presidential rallies, like going into office, like the way he whips everyone into a frenzy. He knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what to say, how to say it, and when to do so.
I've said this before on this show, and I think I've said it in maybe a podcast or a podcast or two. Donald Trump is, with all due respect to Eminem, is maybe the best white rapper ever.
Now I'm gonna have to come for you.
Well, you can come for me.
Take the word rapper out your mouth right now.
Well,
I represent hip hop, and we will not use the word rapper to associate anything with Mr. Donald.
Well, look,
I understand what you're trying to say, but no, he doesn't get that title. Sorry.
This is the maddest you've ever gotten at Robert on this show.
You're gonna hate. I'm
So respect you for that.
Michelle, just to bring the hate on even more, I'm even going to say that he even has a move when he's at some of his rallies, not the current ones, but before coronavirus hit, he actually had a move that I thought was actually I know you're going to hate me when I say this. That's actually reminiscent of James Brown. I swear to God. What he does.
Tom is dying inside.
He's done this, and he does it several times. And I'm thinking, where have I seen?
And Robert, let me ask you real quick: how many times have we seen white people take stuff from Black culture and appropriate as their own? Their little.
Why do you think I've been following Robert George for years, and I'm just planning to take everything he leaves behind?
No, but
Robert, is it when Stephen Miller comes out and puts a cape on him and pulls him?
Tom, you joke, but it's very similar to that.
When he does a split,
Right, yeah.
goes down behind the microphone, pulls himself back up.
He's in front of the microphone, and the crowd is going crazy, blah, blah, blah. He turns his back to the audience, and he walks away, and he pauses for a while, with his back turned to the audience, and then he slowly turns around and walks and doesn't say anything. He's just standing in front of the mic. And you can almost see if Steve Miller was off stage, coming in with it, putting the cloak around. He is a very, very skilled showman. And to your point, Michelle, he's not the idea of swiping from the Black culture. That's long history of that, definitely. But he's not Pat Boone stealing from Little Richard. He actually has a intrinsic style, on-stage style of his own. Now, look, as I said, and when I'm saying this, I mean, no, I'm not justifying his racism and his anti-immigration stuff and things like that. But I think it's important for those who really hate the guy to understand that there are some performative skills that the man has that helps him get the following that he does.
He's been playing the part of a billionaire his whole life, despite not actually being one. He's probably $2 billion in debt. That's why we can't see his taxes.
Too much time patting this man on the back for being a good showman. Like, fuck out of here. I'm tired of that. Like,
I think that's the.
We don't need a good showman. We need somebody who is going to do right for the country and for everyone, and to put everyone back together. And not.
If you don't like good showmen, let me tell you about a guy named Joe Biden.
Tom, hold on a second. No, this is an important point. I don't applaud the guy for being a good showman, but I think if you have an enemy in front of you, you need to know all the weapons.
So we've known this about him since the get-go. This is not anything new. We're not discussing anything new. I think what's on the table right now, just to freaking get his, like, you know, this congratulatory speech that we've been giving him basically off the table, which is like, let's get back to the fact that this interview came out. We are in the middle of September, and then we still have October, which is usually the October surprise, which will come, whatever that is going to be. And I just really feel that, you know, it's not, any October surprise is not going to throw him off his game, because
What do you think the October surprise is going to be?
The October surprise,
What?
the October surprise, the October surprise, one would expect is, the October surprise is usually coming from the party that's in power, that is trying to, you know, get one last dig in before the election.
Naked
The one that everybody is anticipating, a break in that, or a potential break in that, actually happened. We're taping this on Friday, when the longtime number 2 prosecutor in the Southern District, it's not the Southern District, excuse me, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Connecticut, the deputy, a woman by the name of Nora Danahy, resigned because the U.S. Attorney in Connecticut, John Durham, has been tasked by Bill Barr to, quote, examine the origins of the Russia investigation. And Barr has been hinting for quite some time, and Donald Trump has been hinting as well, that they are trying to find examples of wrongdoing among people in the Obama-Biden administration, that they trumped up, pardon the expression, the entire, the so-called Russia collusion hoax. Durham has been investigating this for about a year and a half or so. His assistant has resigned. She hasn't said anything publicly, but has basically let it leak out to the press that she was uncomfortable because she felt that there was pressure coming from above, namely Barr, to push Durham to come up with indictments before the election. That's been the anticipated October surprise.
What about Ukraine? Ukraine? Do you think they're going to come up with any?
Well, here's the other
hope
funny
so.
thing. All these things are kind of falling apart at the same time, because on Thursday, the U.S. the U.S. Treasury, I don't know whether they put out, it was an indictment or it was a statement, but they said that this Ukraine official, who, by the way, has been Rudy Giuliani's pal and associate,
And probably sauna room partner, I'm imagining.
/ investor.
supposedly
Naked cabinet meetings.
supposedly this is the person who's supposedly helping Rudy find dirt on Hunter and Joe Biden in Ukraine. Treasury Department, this is Donald Trump's own Treasury Department, says, oh, this guy is a Russian agent.
Oh my God.
Oh, shocker.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. We're relying on the Treasury Department to do our spy work now?
Well,
A bunch of
look, they're
accountants?
the good ones.
Hey,
Accountants are out there?
The
Now,
Secret Service is part of the
right?
Treasury Department.
Oh, okay. Then that's okay.
it's
That's
always about the money.
My
Well,
favorite
you
part
know,
about all this is just every time Rudy Giuliani's name gets mentioned nowadays, it is as part of a more ridiculous exercise. And I have to remember the fact that my parents had to pay tax dollars so that he could live in a mansion.
And by the
And
way,
every
this,
time it's mentioned,
by the way, this was the perfect day for Joe Biden to bring back his best one-liner ever from 2008, describing Rudy Giuliani. Noun, verb, 9/11.
That was like, that's all he says in a sentence. It was a good line.
Mm.
I could talk about this part of it all night. I do want to say one thing. I just want to get back to one point before, just about showmanship. What is interesting to me, the last 6 months have shown the limits of that showmanship, because he knew behind the scenes that it wasn't true. As we said, like he sort of digested the information and then said the opposite. And as the facts proved different from his worldview, like his numbers went, and his management of the crisis went work. His numbers went down in the polls, which is not to say, it's still a long way from election day. Every day, except for like even election day itself, is probably going to be a long way from the end of the election. But there are limits to showmanship, and we've seen in the last few months. I want to talk about one other thing before we hop off, which is to say the skies are red in California.
Orange, actually.
Orange,
they're Donald Trump orange, unfortunately.
Sorry, orange in California.
I would say saffron. Can we say saffron?
Like
We
real
just-
tragedy, actually. It's like also moving towards Portland as well.
Yeah, well, there's fires in Oregon too that have led to major evacuations.
And Utah. I mean, it's real. I mean, all jokes
It
aside,
is worse this year than perhaps ever.
It's a catastrophe that's going. It's a catastrophe that's going on the West Coast, and the President of the United States has not said a damn word about it.
Yeah, and that is. I'm glad you're the one to say that, because I feel like I'm usually the one to just remind people that Trump has done nothing about it. Why do you think that is? Is it just like there are 3 states that he's not going to win this fall? So that where it
He
started?
doesn't care.
Well,
Doesn't affect him.
Utah actually is a state that he's going to win.
Well, yeah, maybe. Those Mormons might sit this one out, or just vote for a carton of milk or something. I don't know.
Mormons do not like him. That is true.
That
If
is
it
the
was
red state.
Ohio, Pennsylvania, if it
Oh,
was
my
Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, Wisconsin, Michigan, then
Oh my gosh.
he would talk about it.
There'd be a
He's
lot
so
of action.
he's so focused on. I mean, I know that. I mean, he is both. He is 2 things are true. He is the most
Only 2.
He's the most deceptive, lying president that we've had. But he's also the most transparent that we've had. I mean, it's very easy to figure out Donald Trump. He will do anything that benefits him and fuck anything else. And I know that's not quite atavistic, but it's one of the words.
Right, yeah.
It's close.
Here.
Close.
That
and-
is
and
the full spectrum of Robert George. Atavistic and fuck everything else.
And look, no, I mean he's trying to twist the arm.
Dictionary.
He's trying to twist the arm of officials of the Big Ten who'd already voted that they were going to not play the season until at least January, if at all. And he's trying to twist their arm because he knows that if college football is being played in the fall in Ohio and Minnesota and Michigan, it helps it may very well help his numbers. So and meanwhile, nobody's going to vote for California, Washington, Oregon. They're not going to vote for him anyway. So they're just not on his radar.
You know who I blame? I don't blame the gender reveal people.
Oh,
I
mean,
blame-
that's just one fire. That wasn't all. I feel like that story broke and everyone was like, all these fires?
I know.
That was a
But
fire.
no, I blame Sandra Day O'Connor. No,
Sure.
stay with me here.
Out there
She
too.
basically chose George W. Bush over Al Gore, right? I mean, it came down to the Supreme. Yes, it's the Florida recount and all that stuff.
Right.
But when it came down to the Supreme Court, Sandra O'Connor's like, I get to choose who's president? Are you kidding me? Right?
That's a good Sandra Day
I'm
O'Connor.
going to choose. What tribe am I in? I'm choosing that guy. So Al Gore, for whatever his faults, he would have done
Utah.
legitimate, concrete things about the thing he was really passionate about, which was climate change. And that was how many years ago? 20 years ago. We could have
20 years,
20 years of improvements of the climate around the world, which would be preventing these fires and floods and hurricanes and other things we're seeing. We probably need 100 years of work, but we would have been going in that direction, and we haven't. And the canceling of the Paris Accords for whatever their limits were it's absolutely tragic. And this is a direct result.
Yeah.
We can get into the fine grain of it. There shouldn't be people living in certain areas, right?
Yeah.
They're living too close to the forest. A lot of those people that live in those areas, just, they can't afford
Yeah.
to move somewhere else. I mean, this is where people live. You can't go into people and say, we don't need a
Yeah.
Trail of Tears situation. Not that it's going to be that level.
Well, no, but like,
urban-
it's,
I don't mean to bring up some of our dark
But
history.
It's a
but-
thing you think about New York, what New York went through in the early days of the pandemic. How many times you hear people like, just get out of there? It's like, not everyone could.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
Also,
sorry,
yeah,
go
I
ahead,
was
Michelle.
gonna say, no, going back to what Kevin just said about like, you can't just tell people like, beat it. But it's funny that you should say that, because essentially that is what, cities tell, townspeople, like, for example, in Newark, in terms of like eminent domain, when they were like building not New Jersey Pact necessarily, but the where the Devils play now, I forgot, the Prudential Center, when they
Yeah.
were like clearing all those homes out of the way for that parking lot, for that for that center, is like, get out. Like, nobody necessarily
Well,
has
there's
money
money to be
out.
made there. There's no money to be made in preventing forest fires.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's all like, it's definitely, I feel like it's pretty much equal, because the amount of money so people had homes, like,
Right.
and granted, like, their homes in Newark, so maybe you're like, oh, they're not, as valued or whatever, but, people had homes and they had lives, and not just the cost of the physical home, but the multi-generational impact that it has. And like, you can't really, I mean, you can quantify it, you can put a price on it, but the amount of money that usually is offered is not nearly as much as what is deserved. And it still comes down to like the power of like what the government will do for its own, pride, basically, or its own like pat on the back, like, look at this fantastic thing that we built, versus like, forests, too bad, let it burn, we gonna get some paper.
Well, and I also think
we gonna get some mulch.
I think a thing to think about, Kevin, you made that great point. Like, the people who live like up in the mountains in like the more rural areas, there's a certain amount of like, oh, why they live there. Like, you rarely hear it about people who have like expansive mountain homes. And like, likewise, you think about, with flooding and erosion, the response to beach towns that tend to be a little more affluent is always like, well, we've got to protect this beach town. Not why are all these rich people living out on Breezy Point in Montauk? Like, it's always like, we've got to build something.
And even that is like, obviously going back to like the homie Kanye said about George W. Bush back in the day, like, George Bush does not care about black people. You're bringing up Tom beach area as well. Like, Louisiana has a whole coastal front line, and like a lot of those people down there they were not saved.
If Kanye felt like updating that 2005 classic, was it 2006? I forget now. 2005 classic for 2020.
Bring him into this for this point in time.
Bring it home, Robert. Bring it home.
No, but he would say, would he be saying, Donald Trump doesn't care about what?
He is
Squirrels.
lost in the spell of the MAGA hat.
Well,
He cannot. He's another one. He cannot figure out his way through this right now. He's lost in the.
but you were the one. You were the one that brought up the Kanye. It wasn't me. I'm just,
Right, but specifically to Tom's point of coastal disenfranchisement.
Yeah, and then when you look at the recovery of New Orleans, like, the investments were made in the tourist areas, not in the neighborhoods that really most hurt.
MSNBC has been showing this like really sad clip all day of this lovely biracial family. The husband is a Nigerian immigrant. The wife is white. They've got three lovely kids, and they are, and my God, they talk about Dickensian. The place they live in Oregon. The place they live in Oregon is no joke. It's called Ashland, Ashland, and they are standing in the ashes of what was their house, and apparently it was a house that the husband had basically built from the ground up several years before. And I guess the husband and the oldest son tried to do a last stand in terms of like bailing water, and before they had to retreat, and the place came to, and I mean, and it's just like absolutely awful. And Oregon alone, I believe, has had to evacuate 500,000 people. I mean, this is a catastrophe. This is a catastrophe. And if it wasn't because of all the other catastrophes that are going on right now, it should be like 24/7. It should be 24/7 news, and unfortunately, it's not.
The timing, people joke a lot about what else can happen in 2020, and it's all a joke. And now it's like the asteroid's coming, or
probably
the aliens will come, and they're not friendly.
We could only hope. We can honestly.
Robot
at this point,
uprising.
I'll be much more excited about angry aliens than happy ones, because the happy ones, I'd be like, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here right now. You seem very nice. Leave.
We are living on borrowed time, because we've already passed the date that Skynet was activated. We've already passed the Back to the Future the Back to the Future date, and I think we've also
Blade Runner was last year.
I mean, that's it. That's the threesome. We've also passed Blade Runner.
But we didn't pass the Idiocracy date yet.
Yeah,
I think that
We've
was
got
like-
time. We've got time.
Even though it feels like we are definitely in it, I think that was like the year like 2400 or 2300 or something.
and based off the movie I saw, Bill and Ted could be solving this as we speak, so don't worry.
Wow.
With that, we're going to throw it off to a real quick moment with our good friend, Karen. Ned, star wipe us to Karen.
Hello, America. It's Karen. You know, Karen, the head of the Karen Facebook Appreciation Association. We are a network of middle-aged white women all across this country who are watching and waiting and ready to call the cops whenever we feel that we are threatened or inconvenienced in any way. And we've got a bone to pick with you, America. You see, last week we heard about this Atlantic story with these unnamed sources. And, all of us, I have a son who's in the military. I have a husband who's in the military. Both of my fathers were in the military. And let me tell you, the idea that the president would ever say anything that they were losers and suckers, now that is just a bunch of ill-advised, malcontented people who were good to be fired by our President Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? Last week when I was in Sturgis, everyone was just talking about how excited they were going to vote extra twice as hard for our president. And what? He was talking to Bob Woodward? Why the hell would he talk to Bob Woodward? In March? You're telling me that idiot knew in March how bad it was going to be? He knew it was airborne. They knew it was airborne? It's not a hoax. There's tapes? That's him. Almost 200,000 people are dead. Since then, you think he could have released that sooner? I mean, I haven't had a haircut in 3 weeks. My unemployment's running out. But you know what? Faced with this irrefutable evidence of proof that the president has known this, it makes me have a deeper resolve to vote for him on November 3rd. You know why? Because don't tread on me. This is America, baby. And no one's going to tell me what to do, no matter how much the evidence proves it, and no matter how much I know in my heart. Because you know what? I am a Karen, and I want to speak to the manager!
Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you very much, panel. This was a great conversation. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. Thank you, Kevin Scott.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was super fun.
Thank you very much, Michelle Thomas.
Thank you for having me.
Well done. And thank you very much, editorial columnist for the New York Daily News, Robert George.
Thank you, Tom Brennan.
I like to give your full title. I don't know why. And thank you. He's sitting right next to me. Thank you, Kevin Scott, for the show animation. Thank you very much to Joanne Harris for the show theme song. Thank you, Declan Jolly, Jordy Belair, for the electoral dysfunction eagle art. Thank you to Michael Newman for stopping by earlier. And thank you to Adrian Sexton, a.k.a. Karen. And now, Ned Thorne, I'm throwing it to you, my friend, to play us out. Ned Thorne, star wipe you to yourself.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for the star wipe. I'm sitting here once again in my stuffy little closet in Los Angeles where I make electoral dysfunction and I work on movies and television and, wouldn't you know it, songs. So that's what I'm going to do today. One of the 3 that you suggested for me, and I've picked the one that seems the easiest to do. So here is Atlantic City by Bruce Springsteen. Hope you like it. Well, they blew up the chicken man in Philly last night, and they blew up his house too. Down on the boardwalk, they're getting ready for a fight. Gonna see what them racket boys can do. Now there's trouble busting in from out of state, and the DA can't get no relief. Gonna be a rumble out on the promenade, and the gambling commissioner's hanging on by the skin of his teeth. Well, everything dies, baby, that's a fact. Baby, everything that dies someday comes back. So put your makeup on, put your hair up pretty. Meet me tonight in Atlantic City. Well, I got the job and tried to put my money away, but I got the kind of debt no honest man could pay. So I drew what I had from the Central Trust, and I bought us 2 tickets on that Coast City bus. Well, everything dies, baby, that's a fact. Baby, everything that dies someday comes back. So put your makeup on, put your hair up pretty. Meet me tonight in Atlantic City. Getting cold. Everything dies, baby, that's a fact. But maybe everything that dies someday comes back. Now I've been looking for a job, it's hard to find. Down here it's just winners and losers, and don't get caught on the wrong side of that line. Well, I'm tired of coming out on a losing end. So on the last night I met this guy, and I'm gonna do a little favor for him. Well, now everything dies, that's a fact. Everything that dies someday comes back. Put your makeup on, put your hair pretty. Tonight in Atlantic City. Stay safe, everyone. See you later.